Hello there, Drew Hanish of Whiskey Lore. It is a black tie affair, which means we are back to smoky whiskeys again. Love smoky whiskeys. So, this particular episode we're going to be focusing in on Port Charlotte, Heavily Peated. There's a twist. This is not your everyday, ordinary Port Charlotte Heavily Peated, as if Port Charlotte Heavily Peated could possibly be ordinary. This is 7 years old rather than 10 years old. This is aged in different types of barrels, and as you will see, it has a very interesting number on it, MRC 01 2010. It is also 59.2% alcohol by volume, which is higher than the 50% that you would get out of Port Charlotte 10-year Heavily Peated. So it's definitely a different whiskey. It definitely tastes different. It's definitely got a confusing name because we go, wait a second, this bottle looks exactly the same as the regular Heavily Peated. You really have to kind of look at it and go, oh, wait a second, this is MRC 01. And then your brain is rolling into, well, what the heck does that mean? Well, that seems to be the issue, and so I don't know whether you're going to see a lot of these kinds of naming schemes going on for Port Charlotte in the future. It would be nice if they changed the color of the label or did something to kind of let you know that this is going to be a different experience than what you would normally get. I love that bottle design, but to me, that is, there's got to be like a red band on it or something that says, alert, this is not 10-year Heavily Peated at 50% alcohol. Because this is going to taste different. It is going to taste different because I have tasted it and I can tell you, it will be different. So it is a single malt. It is actually aged initially in first fill American barrels, second fill French wine barrels, and then it is also put into barrels from the Bordeaux region. Now, I don't know that that means that it actually has Bordeaux in those barrels. I don't think so. I think they're just wood from that particular region. So a European oak, basically. Aged for 7 years, so that's going to make a bit of a difference as well. The big thing here is going to be once we jump into this and do the nosing and tasting, how similar is it to Port Charlotte Heavily Peated 10-year? And the thing that I love about Port Charlotte Heavily Peated is that while it does have a nice, full, smoky nose and palate on it, it is velvety. It really gives off this beautiful feel, and the smoke really just blends in nicely. Unlike, I'm used to Lafroig, and then all of a sudden you get this velvety, silky flavor out of Port Charlotte Heavily Peated. And honestly, I think it's one of the best value whiskeys on the market. If you like smoke, it is a wonderful whiskey. This is younger. This is also aged differently, so we're going to get a different experience out of it. And the first thing that stands out on this is that wine note, that berry note comes through, but it's surrounded not necessarily by as much smoke as you would expect, but more like almonds, walnuts. I really get kind of a walnut kind of a smell. It has an undercurrent of smoke, but it's the smoke is not the star of the show like it is with Port Charlotte Heavily Peated 10-year. In this particular case, it's like the other two come in and kind of vie for your attention. They blend really nicely, actually. it's just a nice kind of balanced nose between those three different elements. And it's interesting to see in a heavily peated whiskey that the smoke is actually playing in unison with everything else. The big difference in this whiskey, I get some red berries in there. The smoke is there. The medicinal is more out front to me on this. And then as you come into the finish, you're getting like vanilla. Still some of those berries are coming in. There is like a carob chocolate kind of it's like a dusty chocolate, dark chocolate that comes in. Just a little bit on the end. The berries are always there. The smoke is there. But the smoke is not the star of the show in this whiskey. It's really interesting because the smoke is something I look forward to in Port Charlotte and the way it's presented in the Heavily Peated 10. And here it kind of takes a back seat. It's there, but it has so many other things kind of working with it. It's almost like we've created here a more complex version of Port Charlotte, but reduced the thing that people probably go to Port Charlotte for, which is that smoke. So, very interesting experiment here. I don't know if you can find a bottle of this anymore. You may find it probably in a small liquor store that doesn't know what they have on the shelf. I think for the most part, this has disappeared probably over the last year and a half. But I think what it does is it shows you, wow, that wine note really does come through on the nose. What it shows you is how you can stretch a whiskey by age and have it have a different personality to it, and also how you can put it in different types of barrels, and those barrels will create a personality that it wouldn't have if it was sitting in the standard types of barrels that Port Charlotte normally comes in. So really interesting, and I hope they do more experiments like this. I just hope that they aren't so cryptic about it. What does MRC stand for? Making real chaos, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what MRC stands for. But I will say that I appreciate what they did at Bruichladdich in coming out with this, and I would love to see more of this type of experimentation, but it's definitely got to be labeled a little clearer so we know exactly what's going on. Really nice. Cheers and Slainte. That's a very good whiskey.